We knew about this for several weeks. We've been planning, the IDF has been planning this operation, the rescue operation to bring home 4 hostages, Noah Argamani and indeed Almog, Meir, Shlomi Ziv, and Andrei Kozlov. We knew where they were. We knew that they were in 2 separate locations. And so I, this morning, was preparing myself for the rescue operation. It was very clear that we would be hopefully bearing good news today. And I'm happy to say that Israel is celebrating the return of the 4 hostages. It's a bittersweet celebration because there still are 120 that remain to be returned. But I think what this actually shows is that this operation was carried out with, I believe, four values: operational deception, operational surprise against the enemy, bravery of the forces that conducted the operation itself, and the determination and of the forces to deliver the success, the operational success. We did this because we knew that they were located in 2 different locations. We did it because we gathered the intelligence over the course of several weeks, putting together the puzzle of intelligence of what we need to do in order to be successful, and fine-tuning the timing that would be the best to conduct this type of operation. It was conducted in broad daylight, and indeed on the extraction we came under extensive fire from all directions. Inside the houses that they were being held, we found they were armed guards, so we need to make sure that we breach both premises simultaneously so that one doesn't take advantage and perhaps execute the hostages in their hands. So it was a very, very complicated, well-timed, well-executed operation to bring back the hostages. On the evacuation, on the extraction, we had to treat one of the officers who was from the police special forces, who was injured in the breach. He has been now pronounced dead, and unfortunately, he died from his wounds in hospital. So the operation was an operational success, and we've been saying since the outset of this war, hostages remain the reason we are fighting. They are, and our operations are crafted and designed to bring back the hostages. They can be brought back through operational activity or through negotiations. And when the operational opportunity arises and we feel confident we can bring back the hostages alive, then we can implement them like we did this morning. Clearly, the ability to reach 2 different locations simultaneously in the heart of Nuseirat, which is a densely populated area with high-rise or with 2-story, 3-story, 4-story buildings, which is all controlled by Hamas, the complexity is in as the sun comes up in the morning. And of course, but if the idea and the understanding that the best way to bring out the hostages alive is to conduct this operation despite the threat to the forces themselves during the day, then that's what we will do. That was the understanding that the best results and the best chances of bringing the hostages home alive was to conduct it in the day. And as I said, one of our forces, one of the officers, was killed in the action. And so it's not without risk that the forces were accompanied by, so the special forces on the ground were accompanied by infantry forces, air forces, naval forces, other special forces, thousands of soldiers, all gathered in order to execute this operation in a way which will bring the hostages home. It was a success today. Our goal is to bring home the hostages. That is our obligation. That is our responsibility. We have a primary responsibility to those that we failed on the 7th of October. And that is what we did today. We lived up to our responsibility. The operations in these densely populated areas could be over today if Hamas releases the 120 hostages that remain in their clutches, or if they unconditionally surrender. That's what we demand. We need to push forward. We will continue to operate in order to bring home the hostages. That's our responsibility, and that's what we're doing. So we have 2 goals in this war: to bring home the hostages and to make sure that Hamas can never do the atrocities of the 7th of October ever again. To do that, we need to dismantle Hamas as a governing authority and a terrorist entity. So our operations in Rafah are primarily at this stage focused on retaking control of the border area of the Philadelphia corridor, which is the road along the border area between the Gaza Strip and Egypt. So that is what we're focusing on, and we're dismantling tunnels every single day. We are destroying rocket launchers that were intentionally positioned there by Hamas on the border area to try and prevent us from retaliating when they fire rockets. So we are determined to dismantle Hamas as a governing authority and terrorist entity and to bring home the hostages. We need to create a better security situation for everybody. There is no magic wand. There is no magic secret prescription to change this situation. It can only be done through military force or negotiations. Hamas aren't up for negotiations, so we are operating. We came under fire from every single direction. The terrorists came at us with AK-47s, with other submachine guns, with RPGs and mortar fire as well. They tried to prevent us from extracting the hostages. On the evacuation, on the extraction, one of the vehicles that the hostages were in was actually damaged and needed also to be retrieved. So that it goes to show that the level of resistance that we found on the ground, the attempts by Hamas to try and prevent us from successfully conducting the operations was very clear. From our perspective, we will utilize all of the tools that are our ability and that are in our hands in order to fulfill our mission to bring home the hostages. I came to tears when I saw the photo of Noa Gamani hugging her father. For me, that was, it was the culmination of all of the stress that we'd experienced until we brought them home. And Noa Gamani is very, very famous because she is that young, beautiful woman that was snatched away from the Nova party on a motorcycle, and we saw her extending her hands out to her partner. And so she became an icon of this war. And so it felt very, very close to home, very, very serious. And that's why I believe that, from my perspective, the feelings that I was overwhelmed with this morning were reflected on the beaches of Tel Aviv with people yelling and cheering, or people outside of the Tel HaShomer hospital dancing and cheering. So it's a very, very, I'd say, bittersweet day today, with jubilation alongside concerns for the 120 remaining hostages with Hamas. We've seen Hezbollah escalate every single day. Recently, they're trying to reach further. They are utilizing explosive drones. They have been able to penetrate our skies several times. We are operating in a way that undermines their operational activities. We don't elaborate too much on that, but we are taking away some of their serious assets and engaging with their commanders, killing their commanders in the field, in order to send a very clear message. This is an intolerable situation. I would say from our perspective, we are poised and prepared for any eventuality that can develop on that border. I think we are actually more focused and continue to be more focused on the border and the battles that are taking place in Gaza. That's the priority currently. But as we push forward, we need to be prepared for a war with Hezbollah, and that is what the defense minister, our IDF chief of staff, Herzi Halevi, also commented on this over the last week, that the IDF is prepared and ready for any development on our frontier with Lebanon against Hezbollah.